Hello, everyone. You're listening to Lipstick and Leather, and on the phone with me is none other than Mr. James Kottak. How's the day and the week treating you?
Dude, everything's been awesome. I'm kind of an exercise freak. I've been riding my bicycle a lot, and it's good to hear you, Ryan. I haven't talked to you in maybe about a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, I was just
Canada, in Windsor.
In Windsor, that's right. That was a great show.
Thank you very much, man. It was good seeing you.
Likewise. Now, does your project called Brigade have a release date, or has anything been recorded for it?
Well, actually, Brigade was with Howard Leese from Heart.
Yep.
Robin McCauley.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jason Boydston.
Yes, and but we got together a few times. We played a couple short gigs, but they're doing the Raiding the Rock Vault in Las Vegas. They went back and started that like months ago, and it's just going strong. It's going to go all the way up through Christmas, so that's kind of on the back burner now.
Okay.
But I have a bunch of other things going on too, and I'll always keep it busy here.
For sure. That's a cool supergroup, though. I hope it does, down the road, have an album.
You never know.
Have you started recording for the new Kottak CD?
Well, actually, what I've done is I met with Rick Steyer, the guitarist from Keeping Calm Warrant, Wild Horses. We've been friends for like about 150 years. He and I got together, and we went through a bunch of voice memos and some, CDs and stuff we've written over the last couple years. And I have just tons of songs that I've always wanted to record, never got to it, never had time. And there's a couple other collaborators involved. So we're kind of chiseling down the songs. I got about 30, and I got to chisel that down to about 15, then to about 12. So there's definitely plenty of material. And we're just now getting ready to start a Pledge Music campaign.
Oh, cool.
And if you're not familiar with Pledge Music, it's kind of like Kickstarter or, GoFundMe, that kind of a thing. And because, the record labels the record business is broken beyond repair. And, you got to have money to make a good quality album. And on Pledge Music is everybody from Korn to 6 a.m., Smashing Pumpkins. There's so many great bands there. So I go, well, sure, why not? So we're getting ready to launch that, I think, October 15th. Then, but I'm partners with my friend Bruce, who's producer and bass player extraordinaire. So we have a studio, which is pretty happening. And there you go. We hope to get started really soon. My drums are set up, they're mic'd up, and we're ready to go. Then I play guitar.
Yes. Any chances of guests on the new Kottak CD, like let's say maybe Jeff Pilson or Jerry Dixon?
Funny you would say that, because when I tweeted on social media, on Facebook, whatever, said, who thinks it's time for a new Kottak album? And I was surprised to get some of my friends, musician friends who I've known for years, going, hey, man, if you need somebody to come play guitar, you need somebody to, blah, 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 or, I'll gladly come and guest. And I have a list I've started. And, of course, that's a big part of this. That's what makes it fun. And anymore with the technology, they don't have to be there. Like one of my guys who I'd love to have is Gus G. He played guitar for Ozzy, and I think he lives in Greece. And but you can just send the tracks, over the internet, and he can put his part on, and it's going to be great. And hopefully, and there's a few other guys, man. I don't want to say until it's 100% confirmed, but it's a lot of really cool people.
Very cool. Plus, Jerry Dixon played some shows with Crunk too in the past, so that would make sense.
Yeah, and he did as well, and then also he played on the first album, and he's just one of my favorite bass players. He's great, man.
Mm-hmm. Now, with Scorpions' return to Forever involving new songs and revisiting unfinished, unreleased songs, were you involved in choosing the unfinished songs to work on?
You know what? We spent a lot of time listening to some former, older material, and there's some songs that Rudolph pushed. Since I've been in the band, I was in the band 21 years.
That's right.
And since 1996, there were some songs that he kept pushing, and they just didn't make it. And a couple of those ended up on Return to Forever. And one song I'm going to do, a song called Love Is Inside that Rudolph wrote. He gave me permission a few years back to record it and put it on a Kottak album, but it didn't make it because there was so much other material. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that. And hey, Rudolph, if you're listening, I'd love for you to play acoustic on it. It's a great song. It's one of my favorites.
How did the band get Billy Corgan involved in the song "The Cross"?
You know what? It was a fluke. We were recording. Klaus was doing vocals, or get some guitars at the Village, which is in Santa Monica. It's a world-renowned studio. I mean, everybody from Steely Dan, you name it, is recorded there. And Billy was doing some work on one of his albums, and they just got talking. And at the time, oh gosh, what's the producer's name? Desmond Child.
Yes.
He was working with Matthias and Klaus there, and Billy happened to be in the studio. And Klaus was like going, "Hey, Billy," and they said, well, "Hey, why don't you sing on the record?" And that's how these things go sometimes. It was just a fluke. So, but what I will say, Billy is a huge mega Scorpion fan. He has all the albums and stuff. He actually brought something in, I think, and Klaus signed them and stuff. It was
Very
cool.
cool. Now, on the topic of Humanity One, how different were the demos and songs written for the album before Desmond Child became involved?
Well, no, that was the Human. A lot of the songs were there before, but a lot of the songs came from Desmond and James Michael, and then Scorpions gave it the Scorpion signature, of course, because once Klaus sings on something, it sounds like Scorpions. You know, you can't go wrong. Same with the guitars and stuff. That was an interesting album.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorites, actually, I must say.
Thank you.
Now, I know you didn't play on the album, but did the Scorpions approach you to play on Pure Instinct?
Actually, yeah, this is how it all started. I was doing a lot of work with a producer named Keith Olsen, and Keith produced Crazy World, I think their biggest album ever, and Wind of Change and all that. And he called me and says, "Hey, you come over to the studio tomorrow. I want you to play on some tracks." And I went over there, and I go, "Who is it?" He goes, "I can't tell you." I go, "What?" So he puts the tape on, I'm listening. I'm like going, "Wait a second, this sounds, wait." Because I'd already done an album with Michael Schenker, and I knew how Michael plays. And I was listening, I go, "Keith, this is Scorpion." So I played on like 4 tracks. There were no vocals, and they were songs from Pure Instinct. And then they went, one thing led to another, and I did that like in September of '95 or something. And then the album ends up coming out in the spring, and I was on a couple tracks that were released, I think, in Asia and stuff like that, but not on the album itself.
Right.
And so they got a session drummer, Kurt Kress, to come in and just blast it out. And he did the whole album in like 2 days or something. He's like the best German studio drummer in the world. But I started the touring.
That's right.
Great, man.
Now, has Cyndi Lauper responded to your cover of Money Changes Everything? Have you heard from her?
No, and you know what? She didn't write that. She made it famous, but that was actually, I'm not sure who the original was, who did it, but I love that song. And of course, I took it and turned it upside down and stuff, and that was when I was in my punky pop phase, and I loved it. And it was fun. So, but now the new Kottak, which I'd like to talk about, I'm sure you have more questions, is I want to say it's more like Foo Fighters meets Nickelback. It's edgier. It's more straight ahead rock, because with all the comments I got over the last couple months, everybody's going, "Man, we need just a great straight ahead rock album." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Now I know. So I narrowed my search of all my songs, and I mean, I have a box with, I'm not kidding, like literally like 800 pages of lyrics that I've been going through, and it's time consuming like crazy. But I'm super excited.
Likewise. Has Crunk won over any Lil Jon fans?
Well, that's one of the things, because it was Crunk up until like 2000, I want to say 2008, and then I got with a new record label in Europe, and they're like going, "Name the band Kottak," because they hijacked the word Crunk, but they spell it with a C, and the name Crunk came from when me and Athena, when the kids were little, instead of us cussing, we'd say, "Oh, crunk off," or "What the crunk," and that was our all-encompassing cuss word. So that way we weren't ever cussing, which I don't really cuss anyway, and that's true. And so then the record label says, "Hey, man, call it Kottak. It ties in Scorpions." And Kottak, they say like Kottak. It sounds cool. Mm-hmm. I go, "Okay." So I went along with it. I sent them like 30 different names because I didn't want to use my last name, but here we are.
Now, how was Crunk opening for Motley Crue in 1998?
Oh, dude, that was great. It was cool because Tommy just said, "Hey, man, we're playing in San Diego, man. You guys want to come down and open?" We're like, "Of course." And that was a really great night, and we had loads of fun, and it was. And what's crazy, I remember the stage was pushed up. There was only maybe 5,000 people there. It's crazy. And you think about Motley Crue just selling out all the time. But the '90s were not good to hard rock, if you remember. There was so much alternative and this and that, and even Scorpions, man. We were struggling, man. We're not selling a lot of records, and the tours weren't selling out. It was a tough time, but here we are today, and that was a great memory. We have video from it and the whole deal.
Nice. Now, there were 3 previous attempts to document the Scorpions before Scorpions Forever in a Day got released. Did the 3 previous attempts get completed, or did anything happen with them?
Well, it started in 2001, I think it was. We did a tour called the Living Tour, which was, we were the first band to do a coast-to-coast tour of Russia. And when I'm talking St. Petersburg, Moscow, all the way, there are 11 time zones in Russia. That's how massive it is. We did 3 shows in 3 different cities in Siberia. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And from the westernmost point to the easternmost point of Russia, which is Vladivostok, which is actually about 100 miles north of North Korea. That's how remote this is. And they filmed about 300 hours worth. We had a camera crew with us almost the entire time. And, they put it together and they edited it, and it just didn't come out right. And then there was another attempt and another attempt. But then finally, when we did this, it was actually the farewell tour. We had this German director. She came along, and they followed us off and on for over 2 years. And I don't know what she did, but the editing, whatever, it had a sense of humor. And we watched it a few times. We did some premieres in Germany. And honestly, it just came out great. It had a great sense of humor, and it captured the band and the history, and all rolled into one. And if you have a chance, go see Forever in a Day. It's a great movie. Mm-hmm.
Now, weren't you at one point thinking of filming kind of a documentary on Scorpions and Kottak?
Yeah, I actually worked on that for a bit, and honestly, it just kind of fizzled out. And there's so much involved in these things, and sometimes it's a business decision, sometimes it's financial. In this case, it was just wrong timing. So it's sitting there, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But however, I did, when I was on holiday in Dubai, I wrote a book. It's about 190 pages, handwritten, front and back, and it brings me all the way up until spring of 2016. And I need to update it, but I think I will be releasing it kind of simultaneous with the Kottak album, which we hope to have out in March.
Man, that's something to look forward to. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's kind of a story of my life. It's a story of how I ended up in Dubai, et cetera, and this and that, and just a little bit of everything. It's kind of like my life, but the book, unfortunately, the book industry is kind of going the same way as the music industry, meaning it's, less publishing. I live in Los Angeles, in San Fernando Valley. There's 4 million people here, and there's not a bookstore anywhere around here. There's one, and it's crazy, man. And same with the only place that sells albums or CDs is Best Buy, and it's down to one aisle now. I mean, it's crazy because you can download and get everything online. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll see what happens with that.
Now, Tommy Lee was in talks to produce the first Crunk album, Greatest Hits. How come this didn't wind up happening? It just time. He only has so much time, and we talked to him, and then we ended up self-producing it, and then but the second album I produced with one of the engineers from Korn. I can't remember his name. I hate to say it. It's in the album credits. And then the third and fourth Kottak album, Rock and Roll Forever and Kottak Attack, they were produced by Tommy Henriksen, who's the guitarist with Alice Cooper and plays with Hollywood Vampires. And those albums I'm super proud of. I think they're just really good quality songs. And me and Tommy collaborated on it, and I'm very proud of them. Mm-hmm. Now, Crunks were also in talks to be called Brainology 101. How did the band decide between the two names?
Well, Athena kept pushing crunk, so I went along with that. And Brainology 101 was one of my goofy ideas. And you know, when you do an idea for a name of a band, where there's one idea, there's probably 30 or 35, you know. And it's just whatever the like right now I'm already writing down ideas for the name of the new Kottak album, and Kottak, and I want to call it Psychotak.
Oh, cool.
Like psychotic, but that's subject to change, so you never know.
Was the Crunk San Francisco after party where Klaus joined the band on stage for Holiday filmed in 2002?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think we played at the Cow Palace, which is a legendary venue south of San Francisco. Yeah, he did. He came in. Actually, he came in as we were starting Holiday, and it was hilarious. And we just had a ball that night. And Klaus was a good sport, and they just thought it was hilarious when I turned Holiday upside down. You know.
Ultraphobic has always been one of my favorite Warren albums. Looking back, what do you think of that album to this day?
Dude, it gets better with time. And I get that comment all the time because I love Warren Ultraphobic. I was very proud to have co-wrote 4 songs on there with Janie and Rick and R.I.P. Janie. I loved him to death. And that album, a lot of Warren fans claim that to be their favorite album. And, of course, Cherry Pie's first, and then Ultraphobic. I'm like, wow. But it really does grow on you. And if you have a chance, go out and download it, check it out, and revisit it, man. It's a great album. Mm-hmm.
What was Bobby Borg's behind-the-scenes role in the Warrant Family Picnic video? Because I know he was on the set doing some behind-the-scenes things.
You know, to be perfectly honest, we shot that at somebody's house, and I'm not really sure, to tell you the truth. All I know is when I left the band, he came in and played drums, and he destroyed my Yamaha kit. The guy played so hard.
Kottak used to play a version of the Jabberwocky song, Washington Square. There were talks of recording it. Did you ever, or would you ever, for a future project, record a studio version of this tune?
Thank you for reminding me, because that's on my list.
Nice.
And I wrote down this list of about 18 songs, and that's a song I have to record. I'm writing it down now. I totally forgot about that. So, oh my God, Ryan, thank you. See, there's always a reason. And it's hard for me to sing, but it's kind of, I guess, be my tribute to Janie, because I love that. And I've been to Washington Square many times. You know, and it's not far from CBGB's in New York, which is not there anymore.
And that Jabberwocky CD is killer. Some of my favorite stuff Janie's ever done also.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, my studio partner, Bruce, has all of Janie's solo stuff, and his ex-wife gave permission to Bruce to maybe put together a retrospective and release the stuff. But and we've talked to a few labels, but it's like, man, there's a lot of red tape involved when somebody passes away and getting permission and all these things. So it's still a work in progress, and we'll see what happens with that, because there are so many great songs, and I played on most of them.
Right.
And yeah, me and Rick Steyer and Bruce, and God, there's so many great songs. And Janie was just such a talent, man.
Absolutely.
I miss him.
Me too. Yeah, he was cool. I've met Janie a couple times. He was great.
Yeah, great guy, man.
It'd be great to hear studio versions of, like, Stuck in a Hole, I Can't Help Myself, No Matter What.
Yeah. Well, because that tape was leaked, or however it got out, man, there was so much interest for a while there, and it's fitting that maybe it would be all released, and I would hope so someday soon, and we'll see what happens.
No doubt. At the M3 2009 show that you played with Janie, there was a song called Change that was played. Killer tune. Now, is this song ever recorded in the studio or just live and maybe a demo?
You know what? We did it live, and I love that song. And Janie was just always coming up and go, "Hey, man, I got a new song." And he'd come in, and we'd rehearse it and blast it out. I'm like, "Oh, God, dude, where's that song?" He goes, "Oh, I had it for a while. It's sitting there." I'm like, "Oh, dude." He was just a song, just a songwriter. I mean, he just always came with great songs. You know what? I forgot about that song, too. That's a great one.
No kidding.
And, God, man, you really do your homework. But you know what? I couldn't tell you if there's a studio version. There may be, and maybe his ex-wife has some some of the tapes, and or tapes, really, that's dating things. But he always recorded on tape.
Now, Planet Rock, who later changed their name to Rockstar, did an original song, Here's to Us. Any more shows or an original album was talked about?
Well, you know what? There's a complete album
No kidding.
for Project Rock, and that is, for those who don't know, is myself, Rudy Sarzo, Tim Ripper Owens, formerly of Judas Priest, Kerry Kelly, from Alice Cooper, and he's played with everybody, Teddy Zigzag from Guns N' Roses, and myself. And we recorded a great album, and it's just sitting there. I know, exactly. But one of the problems was we're all going in 5 different directions, and there wasn't time to tour. We did Russia 3 times and played some European festivals, and it was great. It's just everybody's just busy with everything else, and life. You know, we all have things like that. So it's hard to get it out to go. Go, hey guys, let's go run around the world. While we just got off with our real band. So I hope the album will come out. We've talked to several labels, and there's been opportunity, but just not the right opportunity, because myself and Corey have, quite a bit of money invested in it. And it is the music business at the end of the day. It does take money, and you have to get your money back sometimes. So it's once again, it's on the back burner.
It'd be cool if Foundry did some more shows if there was the time available with you, Blaze, Rick, John, and Sean Austin.
Well, you know what? Funny, I just talked to Rick Plester because he produced a song that I want to put on the new Kottak album, and I can't find a version of it anywhere. So he just emailed me back. He's going to send me the song. And, that was cool. I'm more hard rock, and that was definitely heavy metal. And Blaze is an excellent singer. Rick Plester is an incredible guitarist. It was just wonderful. But, again, there's only so much time, and I don't know what's going on with those guys. All I know is that Rick Plester likes to play hockey.
Now, I know you met with the Kingdom Come guys in 2013 and talked about doing something, and the 30th anniversary of their debut is coming up next year. Can we maybe possibly see some shows?
Man, dude, you know what? We were up and running because Scorpions announced the farewell tour, so that's where Project Rock came about, Kingdom Come, and I did another Kottak album. So between those 3, it was going to keep me busy. Then Klaus calls one day, here, this is going somewhere, and says, hey, James, we've decided not to say farewell. We're going to continue on. So if you could not play with anybody else, over the next year, that'd be great. I'm like going, oh, my God, I've spent the last 2 years developing these projects. But I just emailed Lenny again about a week ago, because it is coming up on the 30th anniversary of the Kingdom Come debut release, and it's only for the original 5. If we could go out and play some shows, I think it'd just be killer. And everybody's on board. It's just Lenny's not sure whether he wants to do it or not, and this is what you run into. As people get older, they have different priorities, and but he still sings great. He opened for Scorpions on quite a few shows in Russia, and he's still incredible. It's just getting him to do it. So we'll see. Stand by on that, and I'll let you know when and if it happens.
That'd be awesome. Now, back in the day, Lenny used to deny the band's influence by Led Zeppelin. Do you think this is that was a good or a bad idea at the time?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of that was taken out of context. Like they would use a quote and make it big, say, "I've never heard of Led Zeppelin," or something stupid like that, because it's a well-known fact he didn't handle the press real well, and especially the American press, and they love to shoot you up to the top, and they love to tear you down as well. And he was kind of green in that department. And for myself, I always said, "Oh my God, we sound like Led Zeppelin. If you're going to get compared to somebody, awesome." And I always took it as a compliment. I mean, like going, "John Bonham's my hero," So it is what it is. It was what it was, and here we are today.
The band Mission UK had a song called Kingdom Come, and their album was produced by John Paul Jones. And the band opened for Robert Plant. Did you ever get to meet the band Mission UK?
Yes, we did. Funny enough, oh my God, we went, Kingdom Come, we had a few nights off, and we were in London, and we went to see Mission UK at, I think it was the Astoria back then. And we were there, and because they opened for Robert Plant. And we went to meet Mission UK because they were on our label as well. And we went back there, and there's John Paul Jones. So we met John Paul Jones. We talked to him. It was like a riot. Then Robert Plant comes on, and he's up there, and the first thing he says after about singing like 4 songs, he says, "Yeah, well, I hear this band Kingdom Come. I hear they're in the audience tonight." He goes, "Maybe you guys could learn a few things from tonight." It was classic. We were blown away. So, it was really interesting. And during that time, they also pegged Whitesnake as a Led Zeppelin ripoff.
Right.
And and there was a song, Lead Clones. Who cares, man? It was fun. I just laughed all the way through it.
Did Tommy Lee ever discuss with you that one of the reasons Motley Crue chose Bob Rock to work on Dr. Feelgood was the huge drum sound on the Kingdom Come debut?
As a matter of fact, yes. We played on the Monsters of Rock tour. It was headlining Van Halen, then Scorpions, Dokken, Metallica, and then Kingdom Come. We went on at like 1:45 every day, and then Metallica went on after us. Go figure that. We played LA Coliseum, and I got done, and I go back to the dressing room. I'm back there. It was 100 degrees, and here comes Tommy into the dressing room with his wife then, Heather. He goes, "Man, dude, you guys are great." I go, "Wow, Tommy, what are you doing here?" He goes, "Man, you guys are great, man. Who's the producer on your album? It's incredible." I go, "Well, it's Bob Rock." I go, and Bob Rock Kingdom Come put Bob Rock on the map. He was engineer for Bruce Fairbairn, who had produced Bon Jovi,
Black and Blue,
Scorpions, all kinds of people. He was legendary. Anyway, and Tommy's like, "Man, dude," so we talked for a few minutes. He goes, "Man, dude," and this is the kicker here. He goes, "Man, dude, tonight, you won't believe this." He goes, "Man, my sister is playing her first ever show down at Gazzari's, which is was a club on Sunset Strip, a legendary club." He goes, "Man, you should come down there and meet her. You'd be perfect for her." I'm like, "Oh, well, this is kind of weird." And I was pretty tired because I'd hung out with Matt Storm the night before, like till the wee hours of the morning. And so I went back to my hotel and I took a nap. And I was like, I don't feel like going. Last minute, I went down there. Tommy meets me at the door with one of his guys and brings me up, and I meet his parents first. Then he took me back to meet Athena, and I go back to the dressing room and they're getting ready to go on. He goes, "Hey, Athena, this is the guy I told you about. This is James." She goes, "Oh, hi," and turned her back on me. And we did hang out later that night. Motley Crue did get Bob Rock, and the rest, as they say, is rock and roll history. So it's a small world. It's crazy how these things work.
No kidding.
I know. I love Tommy. He's a great guy, man.
Do you still have your magic duster for your car given to you by James Hetfield on Flag Day?
Oh, my God. Jesus. Yes, I did. I think it's somewhere in a box somewhere. I don't know, because I didn't want to get rid of it. That's so funny you bring that up. Wow. But, man, on that Monsters of Rock tour, I mean, me and James, we would. I remember one time we were in San Francisco. I mean, we went. There was a Ralph's grocery store down the street. He and I go down there, and we get a case of beer and a bottle of Jack, and we went back to my room, and him and the guitarist from Faith No More and a few other guys were there, and they just destroyed my room. It was hilarious.
How was the experience of playing some tunes on the Trickster debut and Bruce Dickinson's solo tracks off Tattooed Millionaire that you didn't get credited for either?
Well, again, the Tattooed Millionaire was a Keith Olsen production.
Yes.
Keith used me on many, many albums. The Trickster album, I think I was on half of it, and I can't remember the producer's name, but we did it at Sound City, which was right next door to Get Out of LA. And I ghost drummed on I can't even remember how many. I ghost drummed on a lot of albums, and where I didn't get credit, and but that's why it's called ghost drumming, and you don't get credit, but I got money, and at the time it was a lot of money, and it worked great, man. Good album, good guys.
Definitely. Now, how many tracks did Needle Park get around to recording?
Wow. Needle Park, that was me, CeCe DeVille, of course, for Poison, Kelly Hansen on vocals, and on bass was Tommy Hendrickson, again, back then. And we went into Sunset Studios. I want to say we probably recorded about 7 or 8 songs, and we were signed to Hollywood Records, which is a subsidiary of Disney. And some of the songs were just great. And it just, I hate to say it, it just didn't go anywhere. I don't know what happened. The songs are killer. And there's actually a song from those sessions that I want to put on a Kottak album.
Cool.
And if I'll get a hold of CC, and maybe he'll say yes to it. And but it just, again, it just didn't go anywhere. I don't know how to say it. And it was a shame. We did a song for the Son-in-Law movie, which was Pauly Shore, and it was a great time. We had a blast, and then, like I said, it just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah. Now, on the topic of that tune, of course, Hey Good Looking, that Spike sang on. Did Spike sing any original songs did you guys demo?
Well, he used to come up to the house to rehearsal a little bit, but he was like, man, I don't want to leave my band. I can't leave my band. I can't leave my band. And so it was an odd thing because we had Kelly, and then Cece one day just says, I want Spike to sing on this. And we did Hey Good Looking, and and that's how Cece operated. So.
Right. Was your first gig at 12 with your band Oz ever recorded with guitarist Eddie Garner?
Wow, man, you did your homework big time. Actually, no. We played my very first gig. We played at somebody's birthday party at some park out in the middle of nowhere, outside of Louisville, Kentucky. And I think we each got $8 or $12, something like that. And but no, I'm sure. I bet maybe Eddie has something somewhere. But man, that's digging deep. But I did name the band. My first band was called Oz.
Cool.
I was 12 years old.
What about Nut House?
Nut House. We have all kinds of recordings on like cassette tape and stuff, but we came really close to releasing an album and never did. But we did have one song on called I Finally Know on the local radio station album. You know, radio stations used to put out albums their own of local bands. So that was cool. And one of the songs that Rick Plester has is actually a Nut House song that the keyboard player wrote called In the Movies, and I really love that song, and I wanted to. That's what this Kottak album is kind of for me, it's a retrospective because I'm using songs from here and there and whatever, but it's all really hard rock. Nut House was not hard rock, but I made it this song hard rock.
How about Apex? Any recordings done with them?
Funny you should bring that up. Apex did a TV show, a local TV show in Louisville, Kentucky, called Front Row Center, and we did I think we did a cover song, and then I insisted that we do one original song, and the original song was one I wrote called "Save Your Love for Me," which I sing and play drums on, of course, and somehow the video got out there, and it got passed around, and I got so much great response on it. I'm going to do "Save Your Love for Me" and put it on this album.
Nice.
Then we'll see what. Yeah, I know. I'm revisiting a little bit of this and that.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, James. That interview made my day. That was a lot of fun to catch up with you.
You know what, Ryan? It's a pleasure. And anytime you want to talk, give me a call. I appreciate your enthusiasm. And, man, dude, talking about somebody who did their homework. Dude, you're bringing up stuff that I forgot about. It's like, geez. Hey, well, speaking of, the band with me, Blaze, and
yes,
Rick Lester, and what was the bass player's name?
One sec.
The guy from Disturbed.
John Moyer.
Yes, John Moyer. Great bass player, really cool guy. What were we calling that band? What was the name of it?
The Foundry.
The Foundry! Oh, my God. I was thinking about it the other day because I wanted to mention it to Rick. Thank you. You're a wealth of information and a really cool guy to boot.
Well, yourself too, James.